So we've now come to the final page that I'm going to demonstrate with you, and all the other pages in the album are just going to be pocket pages. So I've got a pocket page there, I'm going to have one there, and I've got a sideways pocket page there, all of which I've shown you how to make before. So we're just going to make one more page to go on here, and it's going to be the double slider. Now the double slider is really one where having a die does make your life so much easier. You can measure and cut and work it out for yourself, but I have used the Cool Cats double slider die, which is this one here, and there's just 4 parts to it. So there's the main part of the mechanism, which is here. Then you've got the part that encases it all, and then you've got 2 identical dies, and these will cut out the bits that slide out, and you can also use them to cut out your decorative pieces. So that's the die that I've used, and I have cut the pieces out ready. So when you've cut them out, you will see you've got, I don't know whether you can see, but you've got embossed lines. You've got 2 there and you've got 2 there, and it's the 2 internal. You've also got a sort of slight pattern, but it's the 2 internal embossed lines that you're going to fold. Now they are very, very close together. What you're creating is a very small spine. So I found the easiest way is to get your finger from your other hand underneath and just gently press along the first of the folds. So just very gently press along, and then from the middle start to squeeze and pinch that first fold line. So at the moment you're doing nothing more than breaking the fibres. You've got your finger underneath to act as a guide, and you are gradually pinching and pinching and pinching until it is on that line. Now at this stage I wouldn't be burnishing, because you're going to do the other line, which is very close. So you are this time literally rolling your card along your finger, which is underneath, and sometimes it's easier if you turn it so that you can just keep rolling. The little bit at the end for me is hard because my fingers aren't very long, but you can see how I'm just rolling it over my fingers, and then again starting from the middle I'm just gradually pinching out. This end is harder for me because my finger doesn't go that far. So if you've got long fingers or something else that you can use, I just find this the easiest way to do it. Some people use a ruler. I just can't get on with that technique, and I don't know why, but I think everybody finds their own way of doing it. And then once you've got both folds, you can just burnish the fold a little bit and then burnish the other one. And you will have to just go in a little bit more because it will have flattened out a bit when you were doing the second fold. So we'll just go back in. I'm just trying to make sure that is straight, and I will burnish that one as well. So you've now got, just keep playing with it, you've now got a little spine. Just a very, very thin, I think it's probably about 1/8 of an inch spine. And then you've got the same thing on here. So roll it over the first one, over your finger, gradually break those fibres. If you try and do it too fast, or you try and do it from the edge, you are more likely to miss the embossed line. So just fold it, and then the second one, now it is harder on this because you haven't got much of an edge, but you're just going to roll roll, and then slightly more difficult. There we go. I've just managed to get my other finger underneath and do that side as well. Roll. And you need this little spine to hold your mechanism for your double-sider. So if you don't have it, there's no space. So if you're going to have a go at making one from scratch, you still need that 1/8 of an inch spine. So I'm just going to burnish that one and then refold this one and burnish this one, so that you've got that little 1/8 of an inch spine. And then unfortunately you've got to do the same on this one. So again, I'm going to roll over my finger all the time, breaking the fibres, and then start from the middle and pinch, just gently pinch out until you've got a crease, but you're not going to burnish it yet. And then you're going to roll that second one over your finger, break those fibres again, roll it over, and try and get my finger in there. It's not the easiest thing to do. I'm very, very right-handed. My left hand just doesn't want to do anything to be helpful other than sit underneath. Oh gosh, it's just started raining. Right, okay. And I'm just going to squash that into a crease and then burnish that one. Come back to the first one, get it back into place, always from the middle. Work out from the middle. Make sure it's straight and then burnish that. And that's got that little spine in place. And then the same on this side. Just curl it, gently fold it and start to pinch it. First one is always easier than the second. Give it a bit of a crease. Sorry if you can hear the noise. The rain has just started. And then it's my own fault, I've just put the washing on the line. And then I'm going to come in on this side, like so, and just roll it over, get my finger under there, roll it over. And on this side, just pinch where I've rolled, just pinch. And you'll have time to take more care over this. So burnish, find the first one, fold it over and burnish that one. Okay, so that's that done. Now we're going to go back and use this one. Okay, and we're going to work on this centerpiece here. And I know this is difficult to see, but I have a piece of cellophane. I keep all the wrappings off my packs, the paper, my dies, anything that's got cellophane, I keep the cellophane rather than having to buy a roll of it. Because it's really difficult to cut absolutely straight, I can see I've got a side that's narrower. So that's the side I'm going to put the glue on, because I don't want there to be any excess glue when it's finished. So let me explain what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this in the middle of this section here. Now, at no time do you want glue to go on anything other than your cellophane. Okay, for this part. For the next part, you want it to go anywhere but on the cellophane. But for this part, so I'm going to use double-sided, and I'm using the Cool Cats double-sided tape because it's got a really good hold, but it's not going to squidge, and you really don't want any squidge. And I'm just going to put a piece of this up to but not over the edge. Oops. And I'm actually going to cut this because, again, I don't want it to tear and go over the edge. So it's a bit of a fiddle diddle because you don't want it over the edge. Okay, so you've now got a piece of tape on there. You're going to put that on there and roll your cellophane round. Excuse me. Now you want it loose enough so that it will roll, but not so loose that you get sort of what I call baggy pants. So take off your carrier, and with it loose but not too loose, you're going to put the other piece over the top, and it should roll around, and you can see the glue strip rolling around quite happily, but it's not so loose, it's bagging at either end. So I'm just going to roll it up to this end so that I can now cut off the excess cellophane, and I'll get rid of that because otherwise it'll just keep reappearing. Okay, so with the cellophane, the glue at the top, like so, I'm now going to put another piece of double-sided tape over the top of that. Like, I need about 20 hands to do this, like so. Now I can see I've gone just a tiny bit further than I want to, so I'm just going to peel back. If I can actually peel the whole thing, I'm just going to peel back a little tiny piece because I don't want sticky anywhere other than where I need it to be. So I'm now going to pull this off and I'm going to take one of my rectangles and, keeping it straight to the top, I'm going to place it on that glue. So that is now in place. I'm now going to flip the whole thing away from me. So if you look, it is only stuck, you can see, it's only stuck on that edge. So with the stuck edge at the top, I'm going to flip the whole thing over. And now I'm going to put another piece of double-sided tape, and again I'm putting it on the top. And again, because I really do want it not to go over the edge, I'm just making sure that I cut it rather than just tear it. Take that piece of carrier off and place your other rectangle on the top there. So now you've got one rectangle that dangles from the bottom and one rectangle that dangles from the top, and as you pull them, they should slide. Okay, it's much harder to do before it's all encased. So you are now going to bring over this little flap. Make sure you've still got your spine, really, really important. And I'm going to use a little bit of glue. I don't want too much because I don't want it to splodge out. I could use my fingers and just rub it in. And I'm going to fold this over the top of that so that it meets that first fold. So you've still got that little spine, but that is now meeting up with that. And I'm just going to give it a little press down. Excuse me. Let's take a drink. So that's now going to hold that in place. But I've still got this one flapping, and this is where your other piece that you folded comes into play. Now, you can do this with double-sided tape. The reason I tend not to is because I want to get it in the right place. And obviously with double-sided tape, you're a little bit restricted on wriggle room. But if you use wet glue, be very, very sparing with it. So I'm going to put some wet glue on this side here, and I'm using my nozzle to really push it into the fibres of the card. I'm then going to take this, lift this up, but also get my finger underneath the cellophane. So my finger underneath the cellophane. I'm now going to put this up against the edge and slide it down. So the cellophane is slightly raised. What you want to do is get that under the flap and under the cellophane, and then get those two spines level. When you're happy, press it down. The thing is not to get the glue on the cellophane. Okay. So when you've done that side, you're then going to put some more glue on here, on the other glue flap. So this is your second glue flap. And again, use the nozzle of your glue, whatever it is you're using, to push it in. So you don't want too much, and you don't want any that's going to sort of ooze out. Lift up the flap. Put your finger underneath, gently underneath the cellophane. You don't want to rip it. So that it's just, do it again. And then get your piece, lie it against the side, and then literally just slide it down that piece of card so that it finds its place under the cellophane. And I'm just going to make sure it's all lined up. I don't want to move it any more than I absolutely have to. But that sliding is a good way to get it under the mechanism, and it will be more difficult to do with double-sided tape. So I'm just going to make sure that's stuck. And then I'm going to try and find the two ends. And there's no glue, so the whole thing opens up brilliantly. Okay. Now, in order to get it the right way up, you will see there is one piece that pulls out right against the top and one piece that pulls out against the bottom. You want the piece that pulls out to the top at the bottom. This is the one where you're going to put your puller. If you do it the other way, it's too close to the actual page of the book and people can't get their fingers underneath. So you want the one that pulls out at the top at the bottom, if that makes sense. And then I'm just going to put a little arrow on it to show which way up the paper's going to go. So then I've cut myself 3 decorative pieces, and I've used the Cool Cats dies again, the same dies as I used to cut these. I've cut these 3. So this is my one that's going on the top, and because it's slightly smaller than the actual frame, it will fit perfectly. Now you can do all sorts of things with this. You can put photo corners in if you've got the photo corner dies. You can decorate this up. I may well do that at a later time, but basically you're just putting that on to decorate it. So I'm just going to come in here and pop that on to there like that. And then I'm going to pull these 2 out. Now when you come to decorate it, one of them will slide in and fit exactly, and you won't have to do any trimming. And it's usually this top one. So I'm just going to come in here with my glue and slide that one into there and just line it up. There we go. and it will fit exactly because you've used the same die. This one won't, because it will hit the glue. So being careful not to hit the glue, place it on, turn it over and draw a line. Now what I should have done, of course, was to have gone round these with my blue ink, but I didn't. And then you're just going to cut that line down. So I'm just going to come in here, cut that line down like so. Do that. Double check it that it's still going to fit. So that's fine. You don't want it to get too close to that glue, but you also don't want a great big piece of blue showing. So I'm now going to put some glue on this, like so, and I'm going to pop my piece on there like that. And I'm just going to give that a minute to dry before I start messing about with it. So I want something on here to pull. Now there's all sorts of things you can do. If you've got a page of stickers, if you're using Graphic 45, then you know you can find 2 stickers that are the same. I haven't got stickers with this pack, but what I had got was my cutout page, and there were some lovely little circles, and I just used my circle punch to cut out 2 circles and a card circle. And what I'm going to do, and actually I need another card circle, didn't think about that, so I will just reach over for my other card circle, my punch, and I will cut another card circle. So let me find a scrap piece of card, and I'm going to cut another circle out of there. Should have taken the back off. There we go. So I've got 2 circles and 2 decorative circles. Let's move that out the way. So I'm going to stick my decorative pieces onto my circles. So there's one, and I made one of these the other day, and as I say, I used the stickers from the 12 by 12 pack, and they were thick enough once I put them together to act as a pull, and that one goes on to there like so. Now this should have dried by now, so you can see how it slides in and out. So what I'm going to do, and I would centre that up using my centering tools, but I haven't really got enough time today. So this one's quite nice because it's got, I don't know whether you can see, but it's almost got a halfway line. So I'm just going to glue, well, I'm going to glue the whole thing. Whoops. But I'm only going to stick this to the halfway line. And I'm going to work out that I'm about centred. Okay, as I say, if I was doing this and I was doing it with time, I would centre it all up. I'm then going to turn it over, and I'm going to put my glue on this side. Now this one isn't going to show as much, but you do need it to be central so that it's not going to show underneath the other one. So I'm just going to line that up, make sure they are lined up properly, and for the moment I won't use it, but you've got your pull, and that's quite nice because it just says cherry soda at the bottom. So that's your double slider. I'm not going to pull it out. So I'm now going to stick, this is the card, the paper that I've chosen to put it on. So I'm going to put this on the bottom here. Put my glue on it. Pop it onto there. Just make sure it's centered. And push it around before you just burnish it. Okay. And you can choose to put that on straight. You can pick a nice jaunty angle. I think for this one I'm going to go straight. So I'm just going to pop that onto there with some glue on the back. Managed to get some glue on there. And again, I might use my corner spacers, but for now I'm just going to pop that onto there like that. And because you've made sure that your top one is the one that pulls down, you can get your finger underneath. So you can now open and close that really easily like that. So that's going in my book. So we've now got the book almost complete. So it's going to go here, like so, on the final page. So let's stick it in. And then I've just got one more page to do, which I will just do as a pocket page. You know, you may want to use one of the things you've already done and do it again. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't do that. But I have demonstrated for you all of the pages that you can then repeat. So I'm just going to go around with this, like so. I will put my strips in between like I've done there. And the other thing I said I would do is to show you how to make the actual book. I would also decorate the spine and the front. You can do that however you like. So you've got all the different pages now, all complete for you to have a go. So the actual book. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a quick drink. So for the book, you will need initially 2 pieces of A4, and you're going to keep it A4, but you are going to cut it at 6.5. So you just very simply take a piece of A4 paper, not paper, card, and cut 6.5. And that's going to be your cover. And you're going to do 2 of those. Now, one of these I've done the next stage on. So we'll have a look at the next stage for your cover. So your cover, the actual cover page is 6.5 by 6.5. But because you want it to be able to fold right back flat, you want this 1/2 inch spine. And you'll want that on your pages as well. That allows your book to fold all the way back flat. Without that, it wouldn't do it. So this at the moment has been cut to 6.5 inches that way, and it's still A4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my scoreboard. And I'm going to score it at 6.5. So I've got the long edge along the top. I'm going to score at 6.5 and 7. So 6.5 and 7. This is 290 GSM, so I'm just going over it a few times to make my folding easier. Now, I'm going to have 6 pages in my book. Each page with a 1/2 inch spine, and then I want a spare 1/2 inch at the end of the last page. So that means I want 3.5 inches on my spine. So I'm going to cut this at 3.5 from that second score line. So I'm going to line that second score line up with the 3.5 inch mark, like so. Just thinking, can I do it down there? I can't, it's quite hard to see. So I think that's probably 3.5. It's much harder to do on this one, but I don't want to get the other one out. So let me just measure it up against this one. So there's my 3.5. Yeah, that's almost spot on. It is spot on. So now I've got 6.5 plus 1/2 plus 3.5. But I always start by keeping it at A4. So those are your two covers. Then you need to cut 6 pages. So your pages are cut at 6.5 by 7.5. For the same reason as we did with the spine, we want our page to be 6.5 by 6.5, but then we want a 1/2 inch flexi, and then another 1/2 inch to be our actual glue tab that attaches it to the spine. So 6.5 by 7.5, and then I'm going to score along the 7.5 inch, and I'm going to score at 6.5 and 7. Exactly the same as I did for the spine. So 6.5, that gives me my page. 7 gives me my flexi hinge, and then this is my glue tab. Okay, so let me move that out of the way. And you'll want 6 of those. I've already folded some, so I'll just fold the last 2. If you have it with the 2 score lines at the top, starting from the middle of the first score line, you are going to fold, just break the fibres, don't go into a great big crease yet, just fold. When you're sure everything is straight, then go in and burnish. So basically you've just taken that extra inch and brought it back towards you. You're then going to take this other 1/2 inch score and fold it back on itself. So I'm going to take it and fold it back on itself. So what you end up with is a little double V. Okay, so you've got one there and one there, and I don't know how well you can see that. So let's do that one more time. So the score line's away from you. Fold the first one back on itself. Go out from the middle. Burnish. And then fold the second line back on itself, like so. Okay, so re-burnish that one, and I have done the others already because you don't really need to see me doing 6 of these. So each of these is 6.5 by 6.5. I'm going to mark it 6.5 square, 6.5 square. And the reason I do this on both sides is because if I'm working on 2 or 3 at the same time, I forget what the measurements are. So if you put the measurements on both sides always, you haven't got to keep re-measuring. So those are your pages. And then the last thing you need are 16 6.25 by 6.25 pieces. So these are the pages that you're going to work on and put inside your book. So you need 12 for the book, 2 for the outside front covers, and 2 for the inside front covers. I don't tend to, no, sorry, take that back. You will need 16. Okay, so 12 for the pages, 2 for the inside front cover and back cover, and 2 for the front and back cover. Now, if you do all that in advance, you then know what you've got in the way of scrap card. You'll also have lots of thinner pieces. I tend not to hang on to those. I know I should, and I know it's very wasteful, but yeah, they just mount up and mount up. But most of this you can use within your books, either when you're making tags or when you're making pockets and extra pages. Use all of this, and then at least you haven't wasted a lot of card. So back to this. Excuse me. I'm going to take one of my, it's covered in bits. I'm going to take one of my covers now, and with the embossed lines away from you, I'm going to do exactly the same as we did on the pages. So we're going to bring the first one back. So I'm going in there and I'm just bending, and I'm making sure it's absolutely straight on the sides before I do anything else. And then I'm just going in like this and just give it a burnish. And I'll come back and burnish it some more. But now I'm going to take my second fold line and I'm going to go back in the opposite direction. Now I'm actually going to turn this round a little bit, but you're going back in the opposite direction. Make sure it's straight against the edges, and then just give it a burnish. And then you can start to really burnish, get in there all the folds and give it a really good burnish. Okay, so this is going to be, here's your page, here's your flexi, here's your spine. So we're going to start putting the pages in now, and I'm actually going to use, if I can find the right one, my 1/2 inch spacer. So 3/4, 1/2 inch, there we go. And I'm going to put my 1/2 inch spacer. Now, if you haven't got one, just, make yourself a piece of card at 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to take my first page. I'm going to snip just a tiny bit off each of the spines, like that. And then I'm going to put some glue on this outside edge. Ooh, that's a bit of a mess, isn't it? Let me just... Okay, so a little bit of glue on this outside edge. Like so. And this is going to go, this is where it gets a bit tricky. So you've got the glue there, you've got your flexi bit there, you're going to fold that back, and you're going to line up your fold initially to your spacer. So you've got your flexi fold butting up to your 1/2 inch spacer. I'm just checking that that is absolutely lined up, because if the first one isn't lined up, the rest of them won't follow. Okay, got some glue on that, but I'll get my glue rubber out later. Oh, it's because it's all over my fingers when I try to get that thing off the top. Okay, I think let me just get a wet wipe. Let me just wipe my fingers a bit because they've got glue all over them. Okay, so that now has your next spacer. So this is your glue tab, this is your flexi, and you've got your first spacer. So with your next page, again, I'm just going to cut a little bit off the end there and there. Okay. Go in, oops, that didn't come off. Go in with my glue. Like so. Fold it over so that the fold butts up to the last glue tab. Okay, so burnish it down. Now everybody has different ways of making books. This is my preferred way, but everybody has a different way. And then just burnish that down. So that then becomes your spacer for your next one. So, same thing again. Just chop off a little bit on the sides. Just gives you a neater finish. Go along that edge. Fold it, butt the fold up to the one before. Make sure it's straight top and bottom, and then just burnish it down, and then burnish that down as well. And the next one, oh, I think I've got two together there. No, I've got two together there. Okay, and oops, snip, snip, and glue. The snipping bit isn't absolutely imperative. Okay, and then unfold it so that you've got that fold, and the fold is going to go up to your glue tab, like so. Open it. Now I've got a lot of excess glue, but it doesn't matter because none of it is going to show. Okay, and then the next one, and a snip, snip, put the glue, on like so, get it to the fold, butt it up to the last one, smooth it down, burnish it into place, open it up, and then I think, yeah, that one's just going to fit neatly onto there. So I'm going to snip my corners. I'm going to just test it first in case I feel I want to take a bit off. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's a little bit. No, actually, it's not. It's going to be fine. So butt it up. It's difficult to do holding it in place. It's going to be fine. So I'm going to put the last one on. So sometimes you do need to just trim this last glue tab a little tiny bit. So I'm going to pop that, butt that up to there, straighten it up so that it's straight top and bottom, push it down, open it up, and you can just see it is slightly come over one side because I'm not absolutely straight. But when we put the other one on, that will be absolutely fine. So there's your book started. So all we need to do now is to put the back cover on. So we're going to do exactly the same. Fold lines away from you. First one comes back. Take it from the middle and make sure it's straight before you do any burnishing. burnish it down, then take it back the other way, like so, burnish it down, and then that is going to glue onto, whoops, that is going to glue on to that. Now, because you've got that extra little bit there, it's not going to be straight. So I am just going to trim off this extra bit. And that's because I was doing it a little bit too fast and I haven't kept it absolutely straight. So I'm just going to trim that extra little bit off. It doesn't have to be wonderfully neat, it just has to be trimmed. So then that will fit onto there. So I'm going to pop some glue onto this back of this spine. I'm also now giving this spine double the strength. Slide that into that slot and it will then line up exactly. So when you are sure that it's glued down, open it up and you've now got your book completed. Let's do that way up, sorry. Your book completed, all your pages in. You might need to go through it. Seems to have got into more of a mess than I usually do with the glue, but I can just use my glue rubber, which I'm sure is in here somewhere. It's called Walkabouts. It was in here. I'll have to find it in a minute. It's usually in there. Anyway, I've used my glue rubber just on those little bits there. It's in there somewhere. I just can't see it at the moment. So that you've got all your pages opening and closing flat. So I hope that's been a useful tutorial taking you through that book. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. If you're not already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button if you've liked this video and the whole series. And as I say, any questions, just pop them in the comments or send me a message. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.